This is number seven podcast.
Number 7 podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. This time, we're tackling a question that's been on my mind a lot lately.
Right.
What does it really mean to be successful? Not just, the traditional sense of like wealth or status,
Right.
but truly successful in life.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling fulfilled and like you're living a life of purpose.
Yeah.
You sent over some really interesting material on this, including a summary of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm really curious to dig into this.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a question that's resonated with people, I think, for centuries. And Covey's work offers a really timeless framework for exploring it. I think what makes his approach so compelling is this emphasis on effectiveness as a pathway to true success.
I like that effectiveness as a pathway. It's not just about achieving any random goal.
Right.
It's about being effective in reaching the goals that actually matter.
Exactly.
The source material mentions this interesting shift from character ethic to personality ethic. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it's a fascinating historical observation. Covey points out that, prior to the 20th century, success literature really emphasized character traits like integrity, humility, and fidelity as the foundation for success.
Okay.
But then there was this shift towards focusing on outward appearances and techniques for achieving success, almost like a shortcut.
So it became more about projecting an image of success rather than actually cultivating the qualities that lead to it.
Precisely. And Covey argues that this outward focus is ultimately unsustainable. True lasting success has to stem from a solid inner foundation.
Yeah.
It's about building those core principles and then letting the outward achievements naturally flow from that.
It makes me think of that saying, you can't build a castle on a foundation of sand. It just won't last.
Exactly.
Now, before we dive into the habits themselves, the source material also talks about the importance of paradigms. Can you break that down for us? What exactly is a paradigm, and why is it so important in the context of success?
Yeah, think of a paradigm as a mental lens through which you view the world. It's a set of assumptions, beliefs, and values that shape how you interpret experiences and make decisions. It's like a mental map that guides your journey.
Okay, I like that, the mental map analogy. So if your mental map is inaccurate or outdated,
Right.
it's going to lead you in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Can you give an example of a paradigm that might hold someone back from achieving true effectiveness?
Absolutely. One common paradigm that Covey highlights is what he calls a scarcity mentality. This is the belief that there's only a limited amount of success, resources, or opportunities to go around, and it can lead to a lot of competition, comparison, and fear of missing out.
Oh, I think we've all experienced that scarcity mentality at some point. It can be so draining.
Yeah.
What's the antidote to that?
The antidote is cultivating an abundance mentality. This is the belief that there's enough for everyone to succeed and thrive. It's a mindset of generosity, collaboration, and possibility.
So it's about shifting your perspective from, I have to fight for my piece of the pie, to let's bake a bigger pie together. I love that. Now, how do paradigms relate to Covey's 7 habits? Are the habits a way to shift our paradigms towards greater effectiveness?
That's a great question. The habits themselves are practices, but they're based on underlying principles that align with an effectiveness paradigm. So by adopting these habits, you're essentially rewiring your mental map to be more aligned with principles of proactivity, purposefulness, and interdependence.
So it's not just about going through the motions of the habits. It's about understanding the deeper principles behind them,
Right.
and letting those principles guide your actions.
Exactly. It's about internalizing those principles and making them a part of your core operating system.
All right, let's dive into the first habit. Be proactive. It sounds simple enough.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah.
What does it really mean to be proactive in the context of effectiveness?
At its core, being proactive is about recognizing that you have the power to choose your response to any given situation. It's about taking responsibility for your own life and focusing your energy on what you can control, rather than dwelling on things you can't.
It's about being the driver, not the passenger.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of us can relate to feeling stuck sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like circumstances are dictating our lives. But this habit is about taking back that control.
That's a great way to put it. And Covey provides a really helpful tool for understanding this concept, the circle of concern and the circle of influence.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Your circle of concern includes all the things that you worry about, from global ways to personal problems. But your circle of influence is much smaller. It includes the things you can actually do something about. Proactive people focus their energy on their circle of influence. They take action, they make choices, and they find solutions. And as they do this, their circle of influence expands.
That makes so much sense. It's about channeling your energy towards action. Rather than getting bogged down in worry and frustration, I know for me, when I shift my focus to what I can control, I feel so much more empowered.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even in challenging circumstances, you always have a choice in how you respond.
So listener, I want you to think about this. What's one area in your life where you could be more proactive?
Yeah.
What's one small step you can take today to move from worrying to taking action?
That's the heart of proactivity, choosing action over inaction. Now, building on that foundation of self-awareness and responsibility, let's move on to habit 2.
Okay.
Begin with the end in mind.
This one sounds intriguing. It almost feels philosophical. What does Covey mean by beginning with the end in mind?
It's about living with intention. Imagine you're setting out on a journey.
Okay.
Wouldn't you want to have a destination in mind before you start?
Yeah.
It's the same with life. If you don't have a clear sense of where you're going, you're likely to end up somewhere you didn't intend to be.
So it's about defining your own version of success, not just blindly following the path that society lays out for you.
Exactly. And Covey suggests a powerful exercise for clarifying your end goal. He calls it the funeral visualization.
Okay, this sounds intense. Tell me more.
It's a thought experiment. Close your eyes and imagine your own funeral. Picture the people you love gathered there. What do you want them to say about you? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? This exercise might seem a bit morbid, but it forces you to confront the big questions.
Yeah.
What truly matters to you? What do you want your life to stand for?
Wow. I can see how that would be a powerful way to get clarity on your values and priorities. It's not about dwelling on death. It's about using that perspective to illuminate how you want to live.
Exactly.
Listener, take a moment to consider this. If you were to give yourself a eulogy, what would you say? What kind of life story do you want to write?
Once you have a clear sense of your end goal, the next step is to translate that vision into a plan.
Okay.
Covey suggests creating a personal mission statement.
A personal mission statement. That sounds almost like something a company would have. But on a personal level.
Exactly. It's a concise statement that encapsulates your values, your aspirations, and your purpose. It's like a compass that guides your decisions and keeps you on track towards your goals.
So it's about taking that big picture vision from the funeral visualization and turning it into something actionable, something you can refer back to in your daily life.
Precisely. And having that clear sense of purpose makes it much easier to prioritize effectively. Which brings us to habit 3. Put first things first.
This one sounds really practical. I struggle with this all the time. How do we determine what truly deserves our time and energy?
Covey introduces a brilliant tool for this, the urgent versus important matrix.
Yeah.
He argues that we often get caught up in tasks that are urgent. They demand our immediate attention,
Right.
but they're not always the most important tasks for achieving our goals.
Oh, I feel this one in my soul. How many times have I spent an entire day responding to emails and putting out fires, only to realize at the end of the day that I haven't made any progress on the things that really matter?
We've all been there. It's so easy to get swept up in the whirlwind of urgency. But the key to effectiveness is to prioritize. The tasks that are important but not urgent, these are the tasks that contribute to your long-term goals, your personal growth, and your overall well-being.
So it's about being proactive in scheduling those important tasks rather than just reacting to whatever pops up in our inbox or on our to-do list.
Exactly. It requires discipline and planning, but it's essential for achieving true effectiveness.
So listener, let's put this into practice. What's one important but non-urgent task that you've been putting off? Maybe it's working on a passion project, having a difficult conversation, or taking some time for self-care. How can you schedule it into your week and make it a priority?
Remember, it's about being intentional with your time and making sure your actions are aligned with your values and goals. Now, having laid the foundation of personal effectiveness with the first 3 habits, Covey then moves into what he calls the public victory habits, habits 4, 5, and 6.
That's interesting. The first 3 habits seem very much focused on the individual, on mastering yourself from the inside out. What's different about these public victory habits?
The first 3 habits are about personal mastery, creating that inner strength and independence. But the public victory habits are all about interdependence,
Okay.
about how we interact and collaborate with others effectively. They build upon that foundation of personal effectiveness, allowing us to extend those principles into our relationships and interactions.
So it's like taking those personal victories and applying them to the realm of relationships,
Yeah,
teamwork, and collaboration.
precisely. And the foundation of these public victory habits is habit 4, think win-win.
Okay, win-win. It sounds like a pretty straightforward concept, but I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye.
There is. It's not just about compromise or finding a middle ground. It's about seeking solutions where everyone involved feels like they've gained something, where everyone walks away feeling valued and respected.
So it's about moving beyond that zero-sum game mentality, where one person's gain is another person's loss.
Right.
It's about expanding the pie so that everyone gets a bigger slice.
That's a great analogy. And to achieve win-win, you need a couple of key ingredients.
Okay.
First, you need that abundance mentality we talked about earlier. It's the belief that there's enough success to go around, so you don't have to view others as competition.
Right. It's about seeing collaboration as an opportunity for mutual benefit, not a threat to your own success.
Exactly.
What's the other key ingredient for win-win?
The second ingredient is empathy. This is where habit 5 comes in.
Okay.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
This one really resonates with me. I'm a big believer in the power of listening. But what does Covey mean by empathetic listening? How is it different from just passively hearing what someone is saying?
Empathetic listening is about going beyond the words and truly trying to understand the other person's perspective, their feelings, and their needs. It's about listening with the intent to connect, not just to respond.
So it's like stepping into their shoes, seeing the world through their eyes, and feeling what they're feeling.
Exactly. And this type of listening requires putting aside your own judgments and assumptions, being fully present in the moment, and really focusing on what the other person is communicating.
It's such a powerful skill. And I think it's essential not just in professional settings, but in all of our relationships with our partners, our families, our friends. Listener, think about a recent interaction where you maybe didn't feel fully heard or understood. How might the conversation have been different if both parties had practiced empathetic listening? Could it have led to a more positive outcome?
Empathetic listening is the foundation for genuine connection and understanding. It creates a space for open and honest communication, which then leads to the possibility of synergy, which is habit 6.
Synergy, that's a word that gets thrown around a lot. But what does it actually mean in the context of personal effectiveness?
Synergy is the magic that happens when people with diverse perspectives, skills, and ideas come together to create something that is greater than the sum of its parts.
So it's like 1 + 1 = 3. You're combining those individual strengths and insights to generate something truly innovative and impactful.
Precisely. And this builds on the previous habits. You need that foundation of trust, that win-win thinking, and that empathetic listening to create an environment where synergy can flourish.
It makes me think of those brainstorming sessions where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas, even the crazy ones. And then those ideas bounce off each other and lead to something truly brilliant.
That's a great example. It's about recognizing that we all have something unique to contribute, and that by embracing those differences and working together, we can achieve incredible things.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about paradigms, principles,
Yeah.
and the first 6 habits. I'm feeling inspired already. But I know there's one more habit. Sharpen the saw. What's that all about?
It's about recognizing that we are the instruments of our own effectiveness.
Okay.
If you picture a lumberjack trying to cut down a tree with a dull saw, it's going to take a lot of effort and time, and the results might not be that great. But if the lumberjack takes the time to sharpen the saw, the work becomes much easier and more effective.
Okay, I see the analogy. So sharpen the saw is essentially about self-renewal and self-care.
Right.
But honestly, sometimes it feels like a luxury I just can't afford. There's always so much to do.
That's a common feeling. But Covey argues that it's not a luxury. It's an essential part of effectiveness. It's about investing in yourself so that you can show up as your best self in all areas of your life.
That makes sense. It's like trying to run a marathon without ever taking a break to rest and refuel. You're going to burn out pretty quickly.
Exactly.
What are some practical ways we can sharpen the saw in our own lives?
Covey outlines 4 key dimensions of renewal: physical, spiritual, mental, and social, emotional.
Okay, let's break those down. What are some examples of activities that fall under each dimension?
For physical renewal, it's about taking care of your body through exercise, healthy eating, and getting enough sleep. Spiritual renewal can involve practices like meditation, spending time in nature, or connecting with your values and beliefs. Mental renewal might include reading, learning new things, or engaging in creative activities. And social emotional renewal involves nurturing your relationships, spending time with loved ones, and contributing to your community.
It's a holistic approach to well-being. It's not just about one aspect of ourselves. It's about nourishing all dimensions of our being.
Exactly. And the specific activities that work for you will be unique to your needs and preferences. The key is to be intentional about creating space for renewal in your life.
Listener, let's take a moment to reflect on this. What's one specific activity you can do this week to renew yourself in each of these dimensions? Physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional. Maybe it's scheduling a yoga class, taking a walk in the park, reading a book that inspires you, or calling a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Whatever it is, make it a priority.
Remember, taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's an investment in your effectiveness and your well-being. It allows you to show up more fully in all areas of your life.
Wow, this deep dive into the 7 habits has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I have a whole new framework for thinking about success and effectiveness. It's not about achieving some external measure of success. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves and living a life of purpose and meaning. Any final words of wisdom for our listener before we wrap up?
Remember, personal growth is a journey, not a destination. Start small, focus on incorporating one habit at a time, and celebrate your progress along the way. The most important thing is to keep moving forward one step at a time.
Such great advice. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the 7 habits. I hope you, our listener, feel as inspired as I do to put these principles into practice and unlock your full potential. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.